attacked in their own home.
What surprised me the most is when they re-entered my home the second time.
Highlighting the risks of selling items over social media. Putting foreign doctors to work.
It's up to the college to recognize credentials.
New legislation meant to address Canada's physician shortage. And the Canadian artist nominated for a Grammy alongside some music legends.
It was so absurd to me in some ways to have been nominated.
CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Ian White.
Good afternoon. A violent assault in Calgary over the weekend highlights the potential dangers of selling goods over social media. This is what happened Saturday after Jason Nguyen invited a prospective buyer into his house to test out a laptop he was selling. The assailant unleashed an entire canister of bear spray into his face. Still, Nguyen kept fighting, thinking his wife was in danger, but she was actually hitting one of the assailants with a shovel. The assault continued against her husband, who was being dragged down their front steps and repeatedly kicked in the ribs and back.
For me, the safety of my wife is priority. So once I confirmed that she was behind me and the two guys were in front of me, then that's when I decided to let go. And then what surprised me the most is when they re-entered my home the second time.
One of the assailants dropped his phone in the scuffle in the home and broke back in to retrieve it. The culprits did not get the laptop they came to steal. Police are investigating, and they're also trying to determine if this is related to other similar online sales-related assaults. Police have charged 5 people accused in a casino fraud. According to investigators, 2 employees at the Deerfoot Inn Casino issued unearned winnings to 3 patrons. It's alleged to have happened on several occasions involving various card games. The casino did its own investigation before contacting police. Last month, 2 men and 3 women were arrested. Their next court appearance is December 22nd. The federal government announced new measures today to make it easier for international doctors to achieve permanent residency in Canada. Jacqueline Wilson is covering this story for us. So, Jackie, what does this mean for Albertans?
So, Ian, hopefully for Alberta patients, it'll mean that they'll have easier access to doctors and also decrease wait times for them. And then for the physicians, it'll hopefully mean that they'll have a decrease in stress and workload. You know, we've heard from many people in the medical community that it's just become unsustainable, the workload that they have, and that has led to a lot of burnout in the medical community. Now, let's talk about some of those changes that came up today. So, as part of this plan, Ottawa will create a new express entry category for international doctors with at least 1 year of Canadian work experience in an eligible occupation. The government will also reserve 5,000 federal admission spaces for provinces and territories to nominate licensed doctors with job offers, and that'll start early next year. Around 13,000 international trained physicians aren't working in their field. That is according to the Canadian Medical Association. And as for the Alberta Medical Association, well, the president calls this welcome news, but says there is still a lot to figure out.
It's up to the college to recognize credentials and look at exactly what types of practice these folks might be able to participate in. It's up to the provinces to then, assign billing numbers and then where these individuals might work and provide service to Canadians.
Now, a new national survey that was done in partnership with the Canadian Medical Association looked at how many people in Canada do not have access to a primary care physician. And so numbers have slightly improved in the last 3 years. Here, let me read those numbers out to you. So back in 2022, it was 6.5 million Canadians didn't have access. Now that is 5.9 million, so a slight improvement. And as for our province, they got back to me on how they feel about this federal announcement today. They also welcome the news because they say it really aligns with their own efforts to try and increase the amount of doctors here in Alberta. Ian?
Jackie, thanks very much. Calgary police releasing the results from 2 check stops this weekend at the Stony Trail location. More than 700 drivers were stopped. 2 drivers were given a warning penalty, and another was caught with a suspended license for a previous impaired driving incident. More than 300 drivers were stopped at the second location on McLeod Trail. 1 person was given a fail penalty. Air Transat says it's making progress with the pilots union, and flights are operating as planned today. The union, representing 750 pilots at the airline, issued strike notice over the weekend. With 72 hours notice, that means the pilots will be off the job by Wednesday. Air Transat added extra flights today to bring some travelers home early. An advocate for airline passengers has some advice for people who have upcoming flights booked on Air Transat.
Take a screenshot of the cancellation and give Air Transat a couple hours to rebook you in accordance with the law. If Air Transat does not use well or does not use at all the chance you give them to rebook you on its own or partner airlines or competitor airlines flights in accordance with the law, then next you buy yourself a ticket and then make Air Transat pay for that extra expense.
The airline says progress has been made as both sides continue to negotiate ahead of the deadline. The Alberta government is considering pumping the brakes on bike lanes in Calgary and Edmonton. Jordan Canigan is downtown with more on this. And Jordan, the province wants numbers to study the impact of bike lanes.
Ian, that's right. And Alberta's transportation minister is also considering bringing forth legislation to ensure that bike lanes are not impacting road capacity. Minister Devin Dreeshen also wants to support cyclists, but he says that they don't want to slow everyone else down, especially on roads where bike lanes have replaced parking or vehicle traffic lanes. It's the latest push by the province to examine the use of bike lanes in Calgary's core and elsewhere. The province wants the city to provide a vehicle traffic impact assessment to determine whether travel times and access is being affected by bike lanes. Well, the mayor says the city needs to expand all transportation options, not get rid of some.
So our council is absolutely committed to funding adequate transportation options for absolutely every single Calgarian. So that includes commuting by car, it includes active modes like walking or cycling, as well as transit.
Now, both the minister and the mayor say that they are open to conversations with each other to collaborate on what this path forward might be. Now, Councillor Dan McLean also wants to see a pause and a review of all bike lanes in the city and a pause on building any more, but he adds he doesn't want the city to have to cover the cost of any of that. Ian?
Thank you, Jordan. And Calgary's new city council got to work today in an important holiday tradition at the food bank. This was the 37th annual Mayor's Food Drive. Councillors bagged potatoes donated by Phoenix Farms near Lethbridge. It's just the start of a fundraising drive through the month of December. Today's winner was Ward 6 Councillor John Pantazopoulos, who unseated 3-time champion Raj Dhaliwal.
Secret is just working with the community, just highlighting the importance of the need right now when we are going through affordability crisis, pandemic. We came out of pandemic. Just it's not hand out, it's hand up. Let's work with these folks.
About 800 households pick up hampers from the Calgary Food Bank each day. Okay, Danielle, there is a lot going on out there. You got some watches and warnings.
Yeah, so Calgary does not have a watch, warning, anything in place. But it doesn't mean it's going to be lovely here over the next 24 hours. Let me start off with all the warnings that are in place for many communities. As you can see, much of southern Alberta is under this at this point. So in the far southwest corner, gusts up to 100 kilometers an hour possible. From Kananaskis all the way up through Banff to Lake Louise. 15 centimeters of snow is possible tonight, which is why a snowfall warning is in place there, plus gusts up to 90 kilometers per hour. So that's snow and blowing snow and terrible road conditions, especially along Highway 93. If you go further to the east, mixed precipitation, so a winter storm warning is in place for areas down to Medicine Hat. And then even in the far southeast corner, winter storm and wind warnings because mixed precipitation and 90 kilometer per hour gusts possible. Again, We're not in that, but it's not going to be ideal. Here's your 24-hour forecast brought to you by Fifth Avenue Volkswagen. Family-owned, community-driven. Discover more at Fifth Avenue Volkswagen. And what you can see is temperatures are actually going to be cooling throughout the day tomorrow rather than warming. So by the afternoon, it will feel closer to about -13 with the wind chill. Gusts of around 50 kilometers per hour, so a windy day. And we have a small chance of mixed precipitation early in the morning up until about 8 a.m. Ian?
Thanks, Danielle. 'Tis the season for some festive cheer, and Calgary businesses are making the most of it. Still to come, a very good year for parties. And hundreds of millions of dollars in damage after that massive summer storm swept through Brooks and the surrounding area. The Insurance Bureau of Canada says a storm that rolled through 3 provinces this summer caused $235 million in damages. The storm hit Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba between August 20th and the 21st. Southern Alberta took the brunt of it, with winds reaching 165 kilometers an hour and hailstones measuring 70 millimeters in diameter. All buildings with west-facing plastic siding suffered 50 to 100% damage. There was also heavy damage to roofs, vehicles, and crops, which were totally wiped out. I remember that day. You were here, and you were talking about how rarely you see a system that intense.
Yes.
And it lived up to it. It was something else.
It sure did. That was some large size hail, absolutely.
Yeah.
Creates a lot of damage. They even were cloud seeding, but it still was a big one.
Because
that was a something system. That was, I've rarely seen anything like that on the radar. So.
And we've got another system coming through of a different sort.
Different sort, not as, you know, record-breaking or alarming, but yeah, it's something. And there are lots of warnings in place across much of southern Alberta, as we talked about. You know, more of your standard winter stuff that we really just have to be prepared for tonight and through tomorrow as well. And then the cold later this week. 3 degrees is the temperature in Calgary, Lethbridge, Pincher Creek, 4 in Milk River. It is mild, absolutely, but check out those temperatures way to the north of us. -10 in Edmonton, -22 in Peace River. This will slowly make its way down. We are looking at much colder temperatures later this week, kicking off in many communities as early as Thursday in southern Alberta. But before we get to the cold weather, let's talk about this mild weather and the mixed precipitation and the wind associated with this system that's rolling on in. 89, so nearly 90 kilometers per hour was the max gust so far in Pincher Creek, closer to 70 in Lethbridge, and just above 60 in Medicine Hat. This will intensify as we go through tonight and tomorrow, and 100 kilometer per hour gusts possible here and 90 in towards the southeast corner. So the gusts will pick up, and when you combine that with the mixed precipitation, snowflakes, rain, freezing rain mixed in with that as well, reduced visibility because of the winds and also very slick road conditions. So again, gusts up to 100 kilometers per hour in the far southwest corner. 90 in through Kananaskis up through Banff and over to Lake Louise. Again, this will likely be the worst driving conditions, especially along parts of Highway 93, because this is also combined with 15 centimeters of snow falling just tonight. And then we have wind, mixed precipitation, winter storm warnings in place for areas to the east of Calgary and south of Medicine Hat. Medicine Hat also looking at 90 kilometer per hour gusts with this. So this is an intense system, absolutely. This is a winter system, and we haven't had a ton of winter yet. We're just getting used to driving on the roads with it. This will be something for sure in many communities in the far south. You can see it approaching. Just to give you an indication of all the snowfall for the mountains, again, Highway 93, it will be consistent longer-term snowfall. And then we'll have isolated precipitation move through. Temperatures will actually drop throughout the day tomorrow rather than warm, which is why it's hard to forecast what moisture you'll have where. Plus, this will be isolated for most communities. So some communities will see it, some communities will not. Then it clears out. And then Wednesday night, we will likely get another wave. And then this is what we're looking at for Thursday. Along with this system on Thursday, dropping temperatures significantly. -2 is our high tomorrow. That will be in the morning. In the afternoon with the wind chill, it will feel more like the minus teens. Again, in Calgary, 40 to 50 kilometer per hour gusts, and the small chance of precipitation early in the morning. That mixed precipitation up until about 8 a.m. Wednesday night, the snow kicks back in, and then temperatures drop. 1 to 3 centimeters possible Wednesday night, Thursday, and then 3 to 5 on Friday. And by Friday, our daytime high will be -18.
Thank you, Danielle. Holiday parties are underway, with some venues experiencing a busy celebration time. Barcelona Tavern has been booked every night from November 27th all the way to December 23rd. It's seen an approximately 20% increase in holiday parties, and the Blue Flame Kitchen has seen a similar spike. It can host up to 700 people. It began booking groups back in January and has been booked Wednesday to Saturday from mid-November until December 17th.
Things are coming back. We had a rough couple of years in the early 2020s, but people are starting to come back, and they really want to celebrate and not throw the doors open, but really sort of do what they can to bring people together and get that Christmas spirit.
We did speak with one event planning group, which says it has noticed companies are scaling back the parties they throw for their employees, helping to save on costs. Plenty of great artistic ideas come out of the Banff Centre. And for this Canadian artist, it's led to a Grammy nomination. Wait till you hear the other nominees in her category.
Keep on moving.
Rental accommodation in Canada is getting more affordable. Joining me is Faisal Karmali, Portfolio Manager with the Popwich Karmali Advisory Group. And Faisal, rent is down for the 14th month in a row.
14 months. Can you believe it? Rent has been declining across the country. In fact, when you look at November over November from last year to this year, we are seeing that the average rent, $2,074 across the country, a 3.1% decline when you look at those numbers. In Alberta, the decline is 4.3%. We're in fact leading the country in declines for cost of rent. Now, that doesn't make many landlords happy, but a whole bunch of renters. The problem will be vacancies. Is there not much opportunity out there? What we're hearing is no, and that will bring a lot of people to the table of, do I buy or do I rent in 2026?
And the Canada Revenue Agency is hearing from a lot of unhappy taxpayers.
Yeah, when individuals or businesses believe that the CRA has made an error in their assessment, they're allowed to file an objection. Now, of course, you need to get proper tax and legal advice potentially, but let me give you some numbers to give you some perspective. In 2018, 2019, 68,000 objections were filed. Just last year alone, 128,000 were filed. So that's almost a double in the amount of objections. And according to the audit, almost 55% of those objections were partially or fully accurate. They actually were an error on CRA's side. So you're going to see a lot more volume coming in for objections. But of course, get your tax advice and legal advice before you file.
All right, Faisal, thanks for the update.
Thanks for having me.
Cora Blund's petition asking for new coal mining to be prohibited in the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains has been approved. The legislative proposal was given the green light today. Cora Blund has a week to appoint a chief financial officer. Following that, Elections Alberta will post the requirements for a successful petition. Lund is expecting to have 4 months to collect 177,000 signatures, but says he would like to get an overwhelming response to send a clear message to the province. Albertans are being asked to weigh in on the future of nuclear power in the province. A virtual town hall taking place today. An expert panel is gathering feedback on how nuclear power could be integrated into Alberta's energy mix before it submits a report to the government. The next town halls are scheduled for Wednesday and January 16th. Harrowing details about a Calgary couple violently assaulted this weekend. Here's Tara Nelson with a look ahead to CTV News at 6.
Hi, Ian. The couple was trying to sell a laptop using social media, but they got much more than they bargained for. Coming up at 6, we'll have the latest on the search for the suspects tonight. Plus, the Better Business Bureau shares some safety tips for anyone buying or selling items online. Also ahead, the province is not a fan of bike lanes and is working on new legislation to rein them in, including here in Calgary. Coming up, why one cyclist is calling this move offensive. Ian.
Thanks, Tara.
The mountainside and morning light cast a miracle hue, sparkling sun.
Juno Award winner Lila Bialy is up for a Grammy Award this year, and her fellow nominees for Traditional Pop Vocal Album are impressive. Barbara Streisand, Elton John and Brandi Carlile, Lady Gaga, Jennifer Hudson, and Leve. The album for which she's nominated, Winter Songs, was written during Bialy's stay at the Banff Centre. And joining me is Lila Bialy. First of all, congratulations.
Oh, thank you, Ian.
What was your response when you learned that you were in the same category as these living legends?
Well, both my husband and co-producer and I were completely shocked. In fact, we thought it was a technical error. People started texting us, and Ben, my husband, was saying, don't post, we have to verify, like check and verify. and actually for about 24 hours, we still wondered if it was a technical error because there are 6 nominees in this particular category as opposed to the usual 5. So that was a bit of a head scratcher as well.
Now, it has crossed your mind, I'm sure, that you could actually win, right?
I'll tell you, it was so absurd to me in some ways to have been nominated that while it is really, the prospect of winning is probably more absurd. I think the fact that I even got across that nominee line is so extraordinary to me. So now I'm just dreaming big.
And to see my extended interview with Lila Bialy, visit CTV News Calgary.ca. We only have a couple of days before our weather takes a rather dramatic turn. Right now in the city, it's mostly cloudy and 3 degrees. That's +3. Danielle has details on a frosty forecast ahead. Well, you know it had to happen. Eventually, at some point, we'll get down into the -20s. The cold weather arrives. It happens every winter.
Happens every winter, but at least in this case, it waited until, you know, mid-December-ish.
How polite of them.
I think so. Mother Nature.
Whoever they are.
Yeah, you know, you gave us a little bit of snowfall, not bad, festive. But that cold is coming. 3 degrees current temperature, our high was 7. It's mild today, and the normal is -1. I do want to show you the long-range forecast again. Again, there's the small chance of getting that isolated mixed precipitation in the city. Some of it may even include freezing rain. Temperatures will rise while we're sleeping and drop throughout the day tomorrow. So -2 will be the high in the morning, -7 in the afternoon.
Thank you, Danielle. The Calgary Hitmen hit the ice for one of their most anticipated games of the year.
Elliott can't get the puck out. Mulgachev on the pass from Macbeth. Side of the net. Moore in front. Shot. Score!
Ethan Moore's goal in the 3rd period cued the annual teddy bear toss on Sunday. Thousands of stuffed animals flew onto the ice at the Saddle Dome. The bears are being distributed today to over 60 local agencies for the holiday season. Thank you for joining us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.